Okay, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining this session. My name is Bernat Agulló. I come from Barcelona. Was born there. I live there, and since August this year, I'm a data platform MVP from Spain. And basically what I've done in this last year has been on Power BI. So I've been blogging about Power BI and doing presentations, mostly virtual, but a few in person as well. And that's how I did. So today I want to talk about scripting, which is not a very common topic in Power BI because it really doesn't happen on Microsoft tools. So if you're familiar with Power BI, you can connect with external tools, and one of these is a Tabular Editor. And Tabular Editor, it allows you to do things quicker, but also it even has like this programming module in which by typing C# scripts, you can do things to your model or even beyond that, because since it's C#, almost anything is possible. Not easy, but possible. Okay, so also thank you for all the sponsors that made this possible. We have them out there. And without further ado, let's get going. So first of all, so why should we learn Tabular Editor C# scripts? So one of the things that it's a very common good practice in Power BI is that you should not use implicit measures. Yeah, by implicit measures we mean when we drag like a numeric column to a visual, then Power BI will just do the sum or the average or whatever you choose. It's very quick, it's very nice, but it's terrible. Yeah, because you cannot really reuse that in another way, and it creates all sorts of problems. Also, when you connect from other places. So everybody says you should use explicit measures, in which case you say, I want a new measure, which is a sum of that column. That's it. Yeah. But doing that for a lot of numeric columns is very time consuming. So we'll see now a script that does this for you, like selecting the columns, creating the sum measures and with a nice name and everything. But this is one thing. This is maybe the most popular one when people start using Tabular Editor. But also you can, it's also a good practice when you have a one-to-many relationship to hide the column on the many side of the relationship. Yeah, because otherwise you have two columns which are probably called the same, and then if you drag the wrong one to the visual, then it will not filter the other visual and stuff like this. So you should always hide the columns from the many side so that you're forced to use the ones from the dimension side, and then boom, and then you have all the things working properly. Hey, welcome. And then we'll get to one of my favorite points, which is time intelligence. So there is also something very interesting from analysis services models and Power BI, which is the calculation groups. Calculation groups allow to wrap calculations around your measures or even more things. Yeah? But this is the basic one. So it's very good to make time intelligence because you don't have to create all the time intelligence measures for each of your measures, but just once and then you apply it. And anyway, there's more crazy use cases. So for example, it's supposed to be a good practice like to have descriptions for all the elements of your model, but it's very boring and very time consuming. And normally the person who is creating the data set maybe doesn't really know what all those columns mean and so on. So there is even a way in which you can extract all the names to an Excel sheet, and you can send it to the business user, say, okay, please type what this means, and then you can drive it back. This is very interesting. And so, and much more. So anyway, here the point is that some people is afraid, when using programming and Tabular is like, oh, maybe I'll break my model, or maybe, I don't know, I'll do something that will stick there, and then Tabular Editor dependency or something like that. This is not the case. Yeah, so basically Tabular Editor allows you to do changes that you would be able to do otherwise, but just much faster. And it's not a hacky thing. It's not like it breaks them on the file or anything. It all happens through Microsoft's libraries. And Microsoft needs, if you use those libraries, Microsoft has to support you if something goes wrong. Yeah? So it's not a hacky thing. So there's nothing to be afraid of. Yeah? It's just that it's programming, and many people come from the business side into Power BI and they're like, whoa, what is it? But here the idea is to show you just a very, very simple script that I was talking about. You see, this works. Yeah? So it's some C#, say, okay, for each column in the selected columns. So basically, you'll execute that while selecting a number of columns. Then for each of them, here the measure, that's when you define a new variable. And then what is this measure? Well, then it's from the same table of the column that you have selected, then it adds a measure on that table, which has a name, which is a sum of whatever the name was. And then the expression is sum of that column. And see, as it DAX object full name will create the actual expression for that column. And it will even put it in the same display folder of the original column in case you have them. Yeah, if it's none, then it will stay the same. Of course, then after doing this statement, you need to put a semicolon, and then you can keep modifying this measure. So here, for instance, it sets the format string, even the description. And here, even it does the hiding thing. So since we created the measure already, then we can hide the column already, because a numeric column, we should not use it anymore in Power BI. Yeah, because we have the measure. So it's not that bad. Yeah, so the idea is that even though it's a bit frightening maybe when if you look at complex scripts from the start, but if you just look piece by piece, it can be broken down and it's something that you can learn. But before that, the point is that, well, we went to school, it's like, no, you cannot copy, or your high school, don't copy anybody, university as well. But when we program, we copy all the way. What happened here? We copy all the time, and it's fine. Yeah. So first thing is like, don't start typing by yourself. It doesn't make any sense. Go around and copy the code. Yeah. So this is what we'll do now. Yeah. Basically, here I listed just the first one is the main repository for C# scripts for Tabular Editor, which is supported by the guys on Power BI Tips. The second one is my fork, in which I upload my scripts before doing the pull request. And so my blog mostly links there because I cannot wait for them to accept it. And the third one is very, very amazing. This is a guy from the Power BI cat team, and he does totally crazy things with C#. So kind of like even like applications to refresh partitions, I don't know, things like this. But they are based on this C# scripting of Tabular Editor, nothing more. Yeah. So let's make a small demo on that. For instance, okay, where am I? What happened? Okay. Here I have a very small model, Contoso, with just a few tables. Oh, what happened? Okay. What is going on? Okay. Yeah. And I do have a few measures as well. So sales, margin, and so on. And now let's imagine I want to start doing time intelligence. So I want to filter by year and then get the current year, previous year, year over year percent, year to date, all these things. If I go the old way, I would have to go and create, so for sales amount, for sales, yeah. So calculate sales, and then same period last year, boom, that would be last year measure. So if I wanted to do it for other measures, I would have to do the same thing over and over again. There are some scripts to do those measures faster, but I go to the next step, which is creating a calculation group with a script. Let's see how would that go. So here, let's see, this is the Tabular Editor scripts. This one already made it to the main repository, so we'll pick it from here. Here, time intelligence calculation group creation. Yeah. So basically, even if you don't know any programming, if you find this, it's like, okay, this is what I need. Or even from my blog post, it's like, this is a script, go there and pick it up. Yeah. So you arrive here, say, okay. And here you go to the two squares, you copy the contents. And now from Power BI, we need to open the external tools. I have both installed, but it works fine with Tabular Editor 2, which is the one I'm going to open now. Okay. Yeah, in this case, we do need the non-supported actions, but this is only because I create a calculated table in the model. But even though this one is not supported, it's very safe. I mean, because there's even the SQL VI external tool, the Bravo thing, that creates like date tables and so on. It's a calculated table, so if they do it, it's okay. I mean, I haven't had any problems so far either. So anyway, here we see I have my tables and everything. It's connected. So I need just to go to advanced scripting. Now I can paste the contents. Wait, I can't. Yeah, there you are. Okay, so now we see there's a much more complex script. And then there's one thing important in calculation groups. Today is not the topic, but it's that calculation groups affect all the measures that are on the scope. Yeah. So even like dynamic titles and stuff like this. So you have to do them properly so that only certain measures are really affected. Yeah, and the other ones are just stay the same. So in order to do that, I'll create this calculated table I was talking about, and we'll put the names of the measure that I want them to be modified. And then any measure that the name is not in that table, it will stay the same. Okay, so let's just see how it happens. So I select, these are my 4 measures. I want them all 4 to be affected by this calculation group. So I want to do time intelligence on that. And here I can just like execute. We can do this. Or I could even save it as a custom action. Yeah, because all the configuration that it requires, it happens either through the selection or some dialogues that will come up. I'll just execute it this time like this. And here maybe you don't see much. Okay, then we need to provide a name. Okay, and this is the column of the calculation group, and this is for the calculated table where we put the names of the measures, the column of the column. And here it asks you some questions even about your model, like where is your fact table? My fact table is sales. Okay. And what's the main date column of that table, which is the date key. And then where's your date table? It's called date. And the date column is called date as well. And the year column is called year. Okay. And then suddenly, boom, we have here a calculation group and a calculated column, a calculated table. But so you see all the calculation items that are involved, and each of them can be quite complex as well. So this all has been created by the script, which is very convenient because otherwise it's very time consuming, because it's not only this one. For calculation groups, you have 2 expressions for each calculation item. So for the format string, there's also a DAX expression and can be pretty complex as well. So so we created this calculation group, but based in the model. So using the date table I have, using the fact table I have, and even this expression, they're using a measure and a calculated column in the date table. Yeah. So anyway, just to, and this, you don't need to know any scripting. You just go there, you copy, you execute, you put the measures, and you're good to go. Yeah. So even if you don't learn how to type it, you can already benefit from C# scripting. Yeah. Of course, this only happened now inside Tabular Editor, so now I have to save the changes back to the model. And at some point, we should get the yellow ribbon thing. Let's see if we are lucky enough to get it. Come on, man. Why not? Change state. Okay. Nothing happens. Beautiful. I was told that refreshing sometimes helps, but otherwise we'll close and open that again. Okay. Come on. Terrible. Okay, let me close this real quick. Why is this even happening? I've used that like a million times. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. Okay. Now we need to connect to that thing. Local instance. Yeah, you see, you can connect to the server or the local instance. Okay. And now, just so you see, oh, now I have a few more things here, but it's okay. And total cost. Here I can execute also this as a custom action. So I don't even need, once we did that, if you save it as a custom action, then you can use it anytime, even without going to the GitHub or anything. It just stays there. Okay, let's go. This is a sales, date key, date, and year. Okay. Okay. Same. Okay, maybe it's a new version or something that is breaking everything up. I cannot believe this. Open that one. Sometimes they are saved, but not really showing. You can open this same thing now. Oh, there you go. One more calculator. Okay, finally. Sorry about this. Here the table is not showing because I defined that as hidden, but once we go here to the tables, you see we get a small table with the names of the measures so that all the expressions from my calculation group say if the selected measure name is in that table, then do this, otherwise do that. And that is very convenient because if I now create a new measure and I want it to be affected by this calculation group, I just need to go to that table and add one more name, instead of going through all these calculation items and changing both the expression and format string. So I thought it was a good idea to do that. Anyway, enough of calculation groups because I love them and I could keep talking about it for a long while. So basically, this is approach. First of all, get out there, see what's out there, and start using it, because your life as a developer will already be improved a lot. And now we'll get to this like a boss thing that I put in the title of the session. It's like, because if you try typing here in the advanced scripting, this is not very easy. You start for each, and then it's like, okay, what should I put here? I have no idea. And so what we'll do is we'll move, because this is this already is for modifying tabular models. So it's not really a coding program, but it's possible to move this programming part back into Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. So, and those are programs to code. So there's much more things around that to help you out. So we'll see how this works. Yeah, because when I saw it, it was like, oh, it blew my mind. It's like, okay, this is much, much better. Because Tabular Editor 2 has almost no IntelliSense, very little. Sometimes we push model dots and then you get a few actions, but after that you don't know what other properties things have or anything. Tabular Editor 3, which I have here, now has some IntelliSense, so it's okay, but it does not go up to the level of Visual Studio, yeah, because Visual Studio has like enhancements like, oh, if you type this, probably you want to type that, and of course it doesn't get that far, but it's much better than it used to be. So, and it's quite recent, so it's just a few months back it started to have. Here it's the same thing. I connect to the local instance. Okay, it's basically the same, just in the other way. And then you can open a C# script tab. And now if I write for here, yeah, it's for each, but now if I type, what was it? Column, you see, you get a few more help. In selected, oh, maybe it's way too small, right? Sorry about this. Columns, something like this, it's okay. Yeah, but here you see you open a key and then you have to remember to close the key. We'll see how it works in other environments. So we'll see how to do that in VS Code and in Visual Studio 2022. So how would that go? Now, for Visual Studio Code, well, of course, you have to download it and install the C# extension by Microsoft. Yeah, I'll open now Visual Studio Code. Where is it? No, not this one. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, I want to close this. How did it get away? Okay, let's do a new one. Yeah. So here, and then you create a new folder, and then you start a new project here. Okay. So if we go back here, yeah, open new folder, and then we need to the .NET new console. Yeah, because here in the, where I have it, extensions. Oh no, extensions are here. Yeah, and here you see I already have the C# one. Yeah? So now we need to go to the terminal and type this thing, the .NET new console. Yeah, so Visual Studio Code is more like for very hacky programmers. The Visual Studio regular one is more friendly. .NET new console, and then this does a few things for us, so that when we go here, we already have a few files created. And here, the thing is that now we have to modify this part. Can we get this bigger? No, really? Yeah. To add the references to the files from Tabular Editor so that we get the models and the things that we can get done there.
So you have to have Tabular Editor installed?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And actually you need Tabular Editor 2 because it's the open source one. Otherwise you cannot start referencing files from the commercial version like that. So it's good to have both always. And yeah, so here you see we'll just get this code that will reference two things. One is the Tom Wrapper DLL, which is sort of an extension of the library from Microsoft to make things a bit easier. Yeah, think of all these. So many methods are just the same, but Daniel Otikir, the creator from Tabular Editor, added like new methods to work easier because first he created the tool for himself, so and then he just released it for everybody. So before this project thing, yeah, we just go there and we type this, and okay, this is good enough. So now when we go to the program CS, we can delete, and now we just use something like this, so which will now analyze. So now we get all these weird characters, but basically we're referencing. You have to, in C# you have to do this twice. You know? First you put the reference to the project, and then you say, oh, I'm using that reference. Okay, good. Then we create the namespace and then the class. And then before starting the first object, or what they call that, method, I don't know, we type these two variables. One is called model, and here we are, normally this should be like lowercase, yeah? But we put uppercase so that we can use model in the same way that we would use it in Tabular Editor. So model references to your whole model. From there you have your tables, your measures, your relationships, anything. And then we create another one which has a much more specific type, Tabular Editor UI tree selection, which it's what the selected object is. So when we type selected, then we also get like columns and measures and so on. And we get all the options if we define it like this. Yeah. And then we would start here with our method. And here would be our code, yeah? Okay, this is terrible. I thought we would have like option to make it bigger, but apparently it's not working. Anyway, so now if we type here, So for each, you see it's yeah, and then we say like column C in selected. You see the selected one already like reacts, and we get all the options, even though we're not in Tabular Editor, but since we have the reference, everything is now working. Selected columns, and then here, wait, no, not this one. Now you see at least we get the closing bracket, so it's already something is helping, and then we could say what was it? See, then it was like measure equals, and then I don't know, it was no, C the table, then add measure, and when you open, you even get like what are all the arguments, and they stay there because in Tabular Editor 2 or something it shows, but then once you start typing, you lose sight of all the arguments that you can keep typing. Yeah. Anyway, so this is already a big improvement. Then what is important is that only this part here is the part that we should copy back to Tabular Editor for execution. Yeah. So all the other part around it is just to get these references and this model and select it, so that it's easy to type. Personally, I don't use Visual Studio Code. I prefer Visual Studio. So, and you'll see that the process is very similar, even a bit easier because we don't need to copy code up and forth. If you connect later, I can provide a PDF for this presentation, no problem. So for Visual Studio, just during the installations, you need to make sure you're installing the .NET desktop development, which will install all the C# stuff. So when we go to Visual Studio 2022, I mean 2019 is fine as well, but I guess it is always better. And we'll go to create a new project. Okay, I don't know what is going on. Class. Why is this taking so long? Oh, there it is. Class library, yeah, C# class library. This is exactly what we need. And now, yeah, I can just pick a folder and so on. I'll put it here. And I don't know, there's TA scripts. Next. .NET 6.0, that's fine. And then it will, pretty much like the same we did with the .NET new console thing, it will create like some structure for our project. Now, here, we need to add the references as well. Where is it? No, it's in the project itself. Yeah, so here we get some different code in place, but for the references, where was it? At here. At, and then it was project reference. Yeah, so it's already from the interface. And of course, we need to browse because they are very weird extensions. Here, they are already from the previous time I did it. But the thing is, one, it's easy. It's like if you go to app data, because they're a bit hidden, yeah? Yeah, and then you need to go one up, and then it's like local, and then you go for Tabular Editor, the regular one. Here you find the wrapper one, yeah? And the other one, it's just on the regular file, so you would go to your C drive, and go to the program files, then use Tabular Editor, and that's the exe file that you need. Yeah. So I mean, if you remember the app data thing, it's fine. Yeah. Once you have them both, then we're pretty much good to go. Yeah, we get the this part here, but what we're interested now is in we already have the name, space, and so on. We just need to add the using thing, yeah, which I'll just copy again, and that's all we need. Oh, well, of course, and inside here will the other part. Yeah, so you see it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, but now what happens when we do things here? Oh, I'm missing a semicolon. Here it's complaining because of the namespace cannot contain. Oh wait, class. Oh no, wait, sorry. It doesn't go here. It goes inside the class. Now, much better. So now we can start with void script 1. And now, so for each, and then yeah, we can go with column C in selected columns. We open, and then so. But here you see, for example, the C, it's already like, if I delete this underlines like, oh, you're not using this. So it's much more, oh, and here we have zoom even. So you can, it basically makes your code almost work for sure, because there's so many helps around, and even like null checks, and you can realize many more things when you're doing that. So yeah, let's do one. measure. Let's complete it this time. This is like from this C, then we go to the table, then we go to the add measure. And now, you see now I get, I can even like go for the name. I think it's good to put the name of the thing. Here we would go and say, okay, I want to, this is the sum of, and then we would put the column name, so c.name, comma, and then, okay, for the expression, then expression, we would put sum, and then here we can plus C plus DAX, object full name. This I didn't know it existed. So my first script, I would like get the table name and then the measure name and put the brackets and so on. And then then I asked Daniel, it's like, yeah, this is there, but it's very difficult to get everything. While if you have into the sense and it's like just play around, it's like, oh, this looks good. And
so basically, this is what the wrapper that he built around.
Well, but
or is it, or it's coming from Tabular Editor?
I mean, Tabular Editor and the wrapper are pretty much the same thing. Yeah. And the thing is, if it's something that Microsoft built in the original library or it's in the wrapper, I'm not sure. Okay. But the thing is, so one thing is that the wrapper has many of methods and so on. But the other thing is the code environment. So how good is helping you out? Yeah, so you could use that in Tabular Editor too, if you knew it. Yeah. But it doesn't come up so easy. So that's what I'm trying to bring here. Is like, yeah, if you do this, then everything is much easier. Because otherwise you're just going around the web, looking for code snippets, trying out, it doesn't work. So you ask Daniel gives you a tip, and then you keep going like that, and it takes forever. That's how I did my first script. So, and yeah, display folder, we can leave it as is. And now, for instance, but here, one improvement that we can do from the original script, for instance, we can go for measure and format string. We could use the same format string of the original column. Yeah, so in case we have different ones. So you could go like c.format string. There you go. Oh, I'm missing a semicolon. Semicolons, I hate semicolons. Okay. And I don't know what else. And then it's like measure, and then this is very good. Format DAX. This is very good. So you can type an expression like in a line or something, format DAX, and boom, and then it's, yeah, the format DAX that we didn't talk about, this is more like a tabular editor thing, but yeah, you get the proper, you can run this formatting through all your measures in one click. And I mean, I don't like it always the way it does it, but at least it's what everybody expects, so it's good to keep it. So you see, with this, we can create a script pretty straightforwardly. Of course, you have to have a mind to program, but if you program in other languages, then doing this is much, much easier than the alternatives. Okay, now, once we get to this point, then we'll touch a few more things so that you get a complete picture of what is going on. There are some, okay, let me go back to the full mode. There are some functions that work well in Tabular Editor that would not work well once you do the code in Visual Studio, which are like output, error, select table. And if you put select table and then a table, then it will show like a menu, and then you can select more or less like we did for the script I showed at the beginning. If you want to have those in your Visual Studio, then you need to put this script host in the beginning, so it doesn't underline it in red. Yeah. So this is just a little thing, and then yeah, there's something. If you program a lot, of course you want to build reusable code, and this is the tricky part with scripts, because what is good about the scripts also is that you just send one file. It's like, yeah, copy this, execute it, and you're good to go. So I haven't got around how to do this properly. But anyway, what I discovered while preparing and so on is that it's possible to put like a class after your script. So you can use methods from there and so on. But it's not the same Tabular Editor 2 and 3. So this is already a big hindrance, I would say, yeah? Because then you have to prepare two scripts when you want to share them. And in Tabular Editor 2 is very hacky, because what you'll do is you have your script, right? And then, even though you didn't open any bracket, you close one, because when this gets executed, it's kind of inside of a bigger thing. So you close that one, and then you start your class. But then at the end, you open a new one, so it fixes with the one that it came afterwards. And doing like this, it works. Yeah. However, in Tabular Editor 3, this is not true. And then if you put this, it will break, it will give an error, so you have to delete these two lines. Okay, I didn't know that. So still working out, because when you start doing classes, you also want to separate different objects in different files. So how do you put all that on a single file afterwards? I'm still trying to find a good way. And I didn't have the use case to dedicate enough time to that, but still, this is relevant if you're facing it. Now, some other things. C# expressions are not exactly the same. I mean, most common ones, of course, will work in both. But Tabular Editor 2 is up to C# 6.0, and Tabular Editor is 10.0. Okay. You could still use a different compiler for Tabular Editor 2. Yeah, if you go there and put the configuration. But I mean, this compiler is, if you already have Visual Studio installed, so it's a pretty big requirement if you're trying to distribute to the general audience. So my recommendation would be to stick with what is possible with Tabular Editor 2. So just expressions up to C# 6.0, and don't move from there, because the good things about scripts is that you can share them and people can use them. But at least, so you know that there is this differences and this possibility to change the compiler. And then when I was asking Daniel, like, how can I build a repository of functions? Because when you create a table, yeah, and you want the user to provide the name for it, because I want things that users do not have to change the code at all. Yeah, so just execute, and then if it needs a name, it will ask for a name and so on. But when you do that, it's potentially very dangerous. Well, dangerous. It can provide an error, because if the user gives you the name of the table you already have, it will break. Yeah? So if you want to build a good program, then you need to check that and then ask again. And and then the code gets pretty big. So if you need to create 2 or 3 tables, right now you have to copy and paste this code 3 times, which is terrible. So I was like, how can I do this? They're like, yeah, you can create a custom DLL with Visual Studio. And in the end, I managed to do that. But right now, since it's a very niche, nobody is doing that, right? So what happens is that you create your DLL, and then you can reference it from Tabular Editor. But then it's like, oh, okay, I need to modify it. And you go to Visual Studio, you type some more, and then it's like build, and then it's like, no, this file is blocked. It's like, oh, come on. So the only way I found around is close Tabular Editor, then you can publish again, and then you can do it. It's like, oh, it's like, well, forget it. I was just wanted to see if it's possible, and then I was like very happy. I did a blog post about it, and yeah, so that's it. And then at the same time, it worries me that once you do that, I mean, of course, your code will be very compact and very nice and very robust. This is like create table, and then it's, I don't know, everything will happen. Oh, we already have that, and so on. But well, then you need to provide two files to people. It's like, oh, this script runs with this DLL thing, and then you need to, maybe you need to upgrade the DLL, and then most users like, oh, forget it, this is too difficult. So I don't know if there's a way to put that on the same file, even if it's huge. I think it will be much easier for distribution. But still, when I was talking about Daniel said like, yeah, we'll provide these better things in the future for that. But then what will happen with Tabular Editor 2? Because probably will not have this possibility. So anyway, the point today is that, well, they are not beautiful, yeah, because from a programming perspective, they're just one pile of code that executes all together. But, well, they can make your life much better when using it in Tabular and Power BI. Remember to put the semicolons. And then also the variables, yeah? So put the type and also the scope. Sometimes it's a bit difficult for me, like, so maybe you will initialize that in a loop, so you have to declare it on the top, and I don't know. You can always use bar if you don't know what type of the... Because sometimes it's difficult with a table or tables or enumerations. I don't know. If you're not really good at C#, it gets tricky. But yeah, and first and foremost, first look at all the code that is out there, because there's so many things that you can learn from there. Yeah, so get me a list of the tables that contain This can be in just one operation. Yeah, so C# is very powerful. It has all these link queue things, so you can do a lot of things. The other day, scripts that I created with also that are not the one I just showed you is one, for instance, to check referential integrity in tabular models. Yeah, because what happens? You have your dimensions and your fact table, but are you sure that your dimensions are covering all the values that come in your fact table? Are you totally sure? How can you be sure, right? So what I did is once I got this IntelliSense working, there's like, ooh, and then because I saw like model dot, and then was relationships, like, whoa, I can iterate through the relationships of my model. And then for each relationship, you can say, oh, if it's one to many or many to one, because they are both types. And then it's like, okay, and then you end up building an expression like, okay, if that counts how many blanks, or if there are any blanks that in your dimension, yeah, because they don't have it's a incomplete relationship or something like this. And that was very popular as well. So I do invite you to visit my blog, which is where it is. Yeah, I put these smileys all over the place, but referential integrity, which is good because then you get, it even creates like measures for the title, and then, and even like a summary one, like this is all that is happening in your model. Huh? So you have one store key is not mapped, 3 product keys are not mapped, and you have 4 problems in together. So it creates all these general measures as well. And then you can make a dynamic button that when it's blank, then it's invisible. But if you have a value for that measure, then boom, it goes red. It's like, well, be careful because you have incomplete dimensions. So I recommend you to...
So this means there is no store key 300 in store dimension.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So actually, it's store key not mapped in store. It exists in sales, but not mapped in the store
exactly.
dimension.
Exactly. Yeah. The one in sales is not mapped, so to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then those measures are already created, so you just go to the title and say dynamic title, and then you choose like title, and it's pretty quick. And then you can even make Oh, and then I did another one on data validation. But this also has a big script that I would put like measures to check business logic. I mean, this is normally not the most usual schema, yeah. But I found myself in a way, and I was getting data, and there were so many rules I had to validate, and I wanted to validate them every day. So okay, so I refresh the tables, and then I check with a measure. Okay, if this is not blank, then something is wrong. And then so I had all these measures, and then I put them in certain display folders. So only the measures that are in certain display folders. And then this creates so this description measures. Right? So if this is not blank, then put me the value and the name of the measures concatenated with the next measure and the next measure. So here for orders, also there's like, oh, there's this field can have only 2 values, and then suddenly there's a third value there, and you can detect that. So you type the measure and say, okay, how many are not this or this? And then, oh, you have 5 rows with different values from those. And then this creates these summary measures to get like some indicators. So basically that, so you can make one alarm and say, okay, something is wrong, go look at it. And then when you arrive, then you see the description, so you can go now to the table and say, and then you can send the email to the whatever, sending the data, say, hey, this is wrong.
So like this would be useful if you're taking over data set or
totally.
Just you want to verify for yourself, hey, you already have these problems.
Yeah. I mean, the referential integrity, I would do it anytime that you get. The other one is a bit more niche, I would say, because normally, I don't know, you don't care about the business rules. Like, this is the data, just report on it. But if you need, then this is convenient. And anyway, you'll see most of my blog is about calculation groups, but I do go up and forth into C# scripting. You can do many things also. We didn't go into it, but you can even use a DAX query to do your code, so to say. So for instance, if you have a table with color codes, and then you can run a script and we'll create a measure for each row of that table. So it runs the query, and then from there kind of reads what returns, and you can use it to declare the name and so on. And that's very convenient as well.
Are you going to go through the example where you had descriptions?
Description? Actually, it's something from...
okay.
It is from Kowalski. This is a guy from the...
Yeah. Okay.
But basically, I don't know, export, we can open it. But you see here, of course, it was a reference to Excel and so on. I probably wouldn't be able to do that one. but I could probably copy it. So yeah, you see here, it keeps, this is the tab key. So basically, I think it probably keeps appending all the elements and hierarchies, everything it finds. And then at the end, he pasted this on an Excel sheet.
Is it possible or have you done it where you have a measure?
Yes.
And can you read measure and say, okay, it's coming from this table, from this column, and what I'm thinking, you could do a general where you say, for a description of the measure, you read DAX and you say, okay,
I see.
It's a summary of this times this. For a lot of times, like in the reports, people see the measurement and they're like, where is this coming from?
Okay. That's interesting. But of course, you're very limited. I mean, you have to parse the expression. This is a no small fit. So, I mean, if you're sure that all the measures...
The thing is, you do it once and then you can just run it on your measures and put descriptions.
I mean, if they follow the same pattern, that's the tricky part. Yeah. But if you create the measures with the script, then you create the description right away.
That's what I'm thinking. Like most of your then when you need the new measure, you just add them to your script, and then you get the description.
Well, you can. I mean, from the one from creating measures, you just right click on any column, like create measure, boom, and then it already has a description. That's a good thing. When you do programs, it looks like it takes more time, but then with a little more effort, then the final product looks much, much better because, you know that this will pay over time. If you have to do it by hand, it's like, no, I'm not doing the description. But then, yeah, with the script, everything is possible. I don't have what this is Marshall thing. I have no idea. I don't know how he does it, but it's out there. So, and yeah, you should definitely check it out and see where it takes you. And I thank you all for coming, and appreciate all the questions and interaction. So thank you. I'll stop the recording here.